We're going to continue with more puzzles and riddles, sometimes called word problems. And some of these will be using some common words for addition, subtraction, multiplying, and dividing. Sum usually means you're adding two things. Difference, you're subtracting. Product means you're multiplying, and quotient means you're dividing. Now, when you're talking about the sum or the product, it doesn't matter the order you put the two numbers in, but when it says the difference of two numbers, whatever number is given first goes in front of the minus sign, and whatever number is written second will be after the minus sign. Same thing for the quotient. The number that you see first will be in the numerator, and the second will be in the denominator. So we're usually going to write the quotient using a fraction bar. Okay, so you'll have like a numerator and a denominator, and that's considered a quotient. So let's start with this one. The sum of twice a number and 5 is 33. All right, you see that number is, the word is, that always tells you where the equal sign is. So we've got the part before the equal sign, which is the sum of twice a number and 5, and the part on the right hand side will be 33. So when I'm going to write my equation, I know that the right hand side is going to be 33. Now, I forgot to put what we're looking for, which is find the number. Otherwise, they're just sort of telling you something, and so what? Now it's a problem. Find the number. So we're going to define a variable for the number, and let's call it n. So we've got the sum of twice a number and 5. All right, so the sum is made up of two parts, right? Because you're adding. So you know you've got a sum, and there's going to be two parts. And that's separated by the word and. So the sum of this and that. Think of that, all right? So the first part is twice a number, and the second part is 5. So we're going to do a sum, so we want to use a plus sign, and in front of the plus sign is twice a number. Now we called the number n, so twice a number means 2 times the number, 2n. So that represents twice a number, and we're doing it as a sum with the number 5. So 2n plus 5 is the equal part. So we're going to do the equal sign, 33. And there's your equation. So we're using some new words, sum, and we have to be careful. It gets kind of confusing. If you're saying the sum of something, you've got to have the word and in there someplace, because it's got to be like the sum of 5 and 3 would be 8, for instance. There's got to be two parts to it. All right, now let's solve this. So let's subtract 5 from both sides. And that gives us 2n is 28. And then we could divide by 2 so that n is 14. And remember, this is a word problem. We don't leave it as n equals 14. You say the number is 14. Or if you have a little tiny blank on a test, you might just write the number 14, but you wouldn't write n equals 14 because it doesn't say find n, it says find the number. You're the one who wrote that you're going to use n to represent the number so that you could write a simple equation, 2n plus 5, as opposed to writing that out all in words, 2, and then write the word number. It's easier just to write a letter n. Now let's check it. It says the sum of twice a number and 5 is 33. So now we're adding two things, right? We know we're going to add two things together. And we're adding twice the number. So if the number is 14, twice it is 28. It's saying I'm going to add that to 5, right? Because it's the sum of twice the number and 5. So we've got 33. So yes, it is true that the sum of twice the number and 5 is 33. So that's the correct answer. Next problem. The difference between 27 and 3 times the number is 12. Find the number. All right, again, we're looking for a number, so let's define the number. Let's do x just to be different this time. All right, so we're going to let x represent the number, and we want a difference. A difference between 27 and 3 times the number is 12. Now, that's going to be our equal sign, right? So we know we're going to have an equal sign and 12. The tricky part is the left-hand side. But the left-hand side said it's a difference. So the overarching problem is subtraction. The difference between what? Well, we've got to have two things. The difference between 27 and there's the separation. So 27, right? That goes before the minus sign. And after the word and is 3 times the number. All right, well, if the number's x, 3 times the number is 3x. So there's our equation. 27 minus 3x equals 12. When you're talking about a difference, the number you see first before the word and, that has to go before the minus sign as well. Okay, now let's solve this. Since I have a minus sign in front of the variable, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by -1, which means all signs change. Okay, that works because it's an equation. You could do that. So I'm going to multiply everything by -1, so that becomes a -27, a plus 3x, and a -12. So this is a technique to get a plus sign in front of a variable. You could just change the signs of everything. There are a lot of different ways to solve this equation, and you might use a different method. All right, now we need to solve for x, so how about if I add 27 to both sides? So I have 3x equals 27 minus 12 is 15. And now I can divide both sides by 3. So that my answer is x equals 5. So it looks like the answer is 5. And we hope that's correct, but we'll definitely check it. All right, so we go back up to the words to check it. So here's my check. It says the difference between 27 and 3 times the number. Okay, so I know I'm subtracting something, right? I'm subtracting 27 minus whatever 3 times the number is. Well, the number I came up with was 5, so 3 times the number is going to be 15. And what is 27 minus 15? Let's see, it's 12. What does the problem say it should be? It says it should be 12. So yes, it checks out, so the number is 15. All right, here's another one. 6 added to the quotient of a number in 3 is 18. All right, we found that word is. Remember, that's where our equal sign is going to be. Find the number. Okay, we're looking for a number. No surprise there. So we have to define our number. Don't forget to always say what you're going to call the number before you write an equation. That's called defining your variables. So we've got 6 added to something. All right, so I know I'm going to add 6 to something. What am I adding it to? I'm adding it to a quotient of a number in 3. Now, a quotient, remember, means divide. And in algebra, we use a fraction bar. So the quotient of a number and 3, remember it's separated by that word and, those the two parts of the quotient. The first thing goes on top. So the number goes on the top, n, and in the bottom is a 3. So there we've got the quotient of n over 3, right? And we added 6 to it. And what does that equal? 18. Now there are different ways to solve this equation. Here's one way. We could first just isolate this n over 3 by subtracting 6 from both sides. So we have n over 3 equals 12. Now at this point you have n divided by 3. You sort of want to undo that by multiplying by 3. Imagine if you took a number and divided by 3 to get back to where you started, you're going to have to multiply by 3. Another way of doing this is just thinking of multiplying by the least common denominator, which is 3. In any case, you end up multiplying both sides by 3. So when I multiply both sides by 3, the 3's cancel here on the left so that I get n, and then 12 times 3 is 36. So it looks like our number is 36. Remember to write the answer in words. The number is 36, and now we're going to check. It says 6 added to the quotient of a number and 3. All right, if the number is 36, what's the quotient of 36 and 3? Well, that's 36 divided by 3, which is 12, right? Or you could have written it as 36 over 3 is 12. And then it says add 18 to that. And that gives us add 6 to it. Said that wrong. Add 6 to it, we get 18. We're done.